Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Ghada Ternanni, Belk College class of 2016. I, grad- I graduated from the Belk College of Business. I currently work at Bank of America as a senior financial analyst and the business finance officer for the global corporate banking line of business. I serve on the Belk College of Business Alumni Council, the Women in Business Associates Board, and I chair the Bank of America UNC Charlotte Alumni Network. Our program today is presented by the Belk College of Business Alumni Council. Belk Talks Business is a virtual event series created for Belk College alumni and business partners, with guests sharing insight on leadership, tips for success, and other timely topics. Thank you for joining us. For more than 50 years, Belk College alumni has been driving business in Charlotte and around the globe as innovators, creators, doers, and change agents. Today, we are proud to spotlight one of our most accomplished Belk College alumni who is indeed literally driving business, Kelley Earnhardt Miller. Kelley is co-owner and general manager of Junior Motorsports and is considered one of the most prominent businesswomen in NASCAR today. She oversees the company's race team, management team, and business ventures for her brother, Dale Earnhardt Jr. The daughter of seven-time NASCAR champion Dale Earnhardt, Kelley graduated from UNC Charlotte in 1995, earning a bachelor's in business administration. A multiple award recipient, in 2015, she was named one of Sports Business Journal's Game Changers, Women in Sports Business, for her impact on the motorsports industry. Kelley is married to L.W. Miller and is mom to Carson, Kennedy, and Wyatt. Kelley is the author of Drive, 9 Lessons to Win in Business and in Life. Good afternoon, Kelley. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Good afternoon, Ghada. I'm glad to be here with you and all of you that are with us today.
I look forward to hearing more about your lessons for success in your professional as well as your personal life. We'll also take time to answer some questions from the audience. We welcome those tuning in today to enter your questions for Kelley into the chat. I'll ask as many as we can during the question and answer portion later in the program. So as we kind of introduce ourselves and get to know you a little bit, what is your role at Junior Motorsports?
Yeah, so I've been working at Junior Motorsports for my brother, Dale Earnhardt Jr., for the past 20 years. I went to work there after our dad passed away in 2001. And my role is a little of everything. One day I say, this sounds silly, but one day I could be, Dale calls up, wants you to order lunch, wants you to, grab something for him or whatever, to modeling financial data, to, P&Ls for the different companies, negotiating contracts. At Junior Motorsports, we do a lot of different things. We have 4 NASCAR Xfinity teams who compete on the weekends for NASCAR. We manage all of my brother's business ventures. And so we have partnerships with, let's say, Sugarland's Distillery out of Gatlinburg. We have PSA relationships with folks like Nationwide and Bojangles and folks like that. So, and then we have a content company where we produce original content and podcasts. And we have about 130 employees. So definitely keep busy.
Yeah, so it sounds like you wear a lot of hats.
I do.
So what is your favorite thing about your job?
My favorite thing is people, which, sounds crazy because people always tell you in a business, people are sometimes the hardest thing that you have to deal with. Right. But my favorite thing is, just really being able to provide an opportunity for people to work in somewhere that they love, to provide an atmosphere that, is fun, it's engaging, it's very family oriented. And so really, that aspect of my job really just driving the fact that, I get to employ these people, then that trickles to their family and what it provides for them in their life, really is kind of what I always keep at the forefront of what drives me to run the business.
Cool. Can I ask you what your least favorite thing is?
People. It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I don't know that I really have least favorite things. That, probably the least favorite thing is that I was talking about it on the way in with Tanner is reevaluating in a circumstance like COVID, right, or in some sort of challenge where you're constantly having to be. I like challenges, but this one's gone on a little long, right? Yes. So, kind of reevaluating. And I say that because, you have 130 employees and then you're trying to figure out what's the right thing to do for the masses. And you're going to have people that, don't like what you're doing, that like what you're doing. You're going to have people down the middle. So I say that, jokingly about people because you're also trying to appease, a big audience and we all know that that's not very possible.
Yeah, I
So.
mean, 130 people is 130 households.
Yes,
Like it's
exactly.
very
Times that
impactful.
by 4, right? Basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that definitely very, very influential in all of the difficult decisions that I'm sure you've had to make in the last year. So as we talk about your book here, Drive, it's perfect. The title of it is awesome. So how would you say that you're driving business?
You know, I just luckily I was able to you know, have a little heads up on the question. I was thinking about, you know, driving business. I mean, I don't have a strategy that I feel like, you know, there's just no like mantra or simple words about what you do. I just get up every day, you know, give myself to the business, give myself to the people, give myself to what we're trying to accomplish, and try to do that to the best of my ability, you know. And that's what's put us in the position to where we are, and what's brought us as far as we are. And you know, honestly, really just applying all the lessons that I talk about in the book every day is really what, you know, drives me every day. You know, we take those people, we, you know, I lead in these certain ways, and we're going to talk about a few of those things to, you know, lead and drive the business. So it's sort of simple, in a
Right.
way, right?
Right. No, it was a very pleasant read as I was going through it. And kind of going into this next question, as I listened to the audiobook the first time, your brother Dale actually opens it kind of in an introductory way. And it was nice to hear him. And he thinks so highly of you, which is awesome. But he talks about this a little bit in the intro. But why did you decide to write this book?
You know, I decided to write the book. I really, the conversation goes back to when we were working on Dale's book. So Dale did a book, wrote about his concussions in the sport and kind of, you know, coming back from those concussions. And so we were talking to the publishers about his book, and they turned to me and they said, you know, have you ever thought of writing a book? And I said, well, you know, I haven't really given a lot of thought, but if I would write a book, I wanted to write a book more about being Dale Earnhardt's daughter, more about that experience growing up, more relational with my father, because I really struggled in that relationship, and he struggled being a dad, and then we struggled, you know, as children, kind of growing up under this, you know, monster of a perception and umbrella and reputation. So I really wanted to come at it from that angle. I'm 49 years old, you know, been through a lot in life in terms of experiences, and I just kind of wanted to plug in my therapy and all these different things that I went through, and losing my dad. I know that you lost your dad too when you were young. I was 27, so I'm thankful for more time, you know, with him, but it was still a tragic situation in the midst of my experience of life. And so they said, you know, well, that sounds great, but nobody really wants to read about kids from famous people. That was basically how they put it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And I said, well, I think it's important to tell some of the story, because I think it will help people understand more about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, well, we think you should concentrate on business, and we think you should kind of, you know, think about what you've learned in business, think about how those things are reflective from your childhood, and try to marry that together. So, you know, you found in the book that you have 4 chapters that are kind of the autobiography part, kind of setting up, you know, and then you see kind of how the lessons weave into our experience. And I think that's something to share with everyone, is that we all have our own different experience in life. And I was very hesitant to write this book talking in somewhat of a negative way about my father, who is a hero to so many people, right? And you don't talk bad about heroes, right? But I was reminded, and I try to stay aware of this, and I think it's important for other people to aware, it's your experience. I'm not talking negatively. It's just my experience. It's just what I experienced, right?
You're allowed to talk about your dad.
Right? You have experiences in life that can be positive, negative, and it's okay to share those with people, because we can all grow and learn and pull something different out of it. So
yeah, no, I definitely appreciated the candor, and it set up your past and how it led you to the person that you are today, which was exactly what people, I think, should be looking for whenever they're picking up a book like this, because it's not just about business, it's also about life.
Right.
So at the end of chapter 2, you write, what I've learned through the years is that you don't need to start on the pole. With enough determination and the right help, you can come from behind and win. So tell me a little bit about the advice that you're giving there.
Yeah, so it kind of speaks to what I was just speaking of in terms of, we're all not set up for the perfect success,
Mhm.
right? We go through different challenges as kids. We go through, whether your schooling, your home life, whether you were in sports, you were not in sports, all these different things that make us as people, and then whether you're experiencing, life and death in your life or whatever it might be. I mean, we just go through so many experiences that we're all put in a position at times to, want to give up, want to, turn another direction, so on and so forth. So I think that, the biggest thing about that is just to realize that it's never over. There's never not an opportunity to continue to drive forward, to continue to try to find that path. And for me, I didn't realize, through my, let's just say late 20s, 30s, my dad passed at 27. I kind of went off the deep end, so to speak. Not like, not bad, but
Finding yourself.
just finding
Yeah.
myself. I had a daughter. I had a 5-month-old daughter when my dad passed away, and so I'm just like, trying to figure out what I am, who I am, where I'm working, what I'm doing. You have all this outside interference, and so I went to therapy, and I got some different help. So it could be a mentor in your life. It could be a passion for the job that you have, but in my case, it was going to therapy and just trying to work through some of this baggage that I always carried into situations in my life. And so, that's really what I'm talking about there is that, yeah, some people come right out of the gate and have everything lined up for them and the opportunities are there. Some people, have experiences that put them behind a little bit and then they have to kind of overcome those. And so, I think there's a misconception in our case that because we're Earnhardts, it just must have been great, right? Must just been, was just handed everything, and all these great things happened, and we've certainly, had a lot of opportunity in life that a lot of people didn't have.
Right.
But the one thing, that guiding thing that I missed was that relationship with my parents. They were divorced early. My dad was compensating a lot and sacrificing a lot to be a race car driver in his time with kids and things like that. So, I feel like I missed out on that connection and that emotion
Mhm.
and that relationship, and that for me was what held me up, in life. So,
Yeah, so kind of coming off of that, it's no secret being the daughter of a NASCAR legend. It did open doors for you, and you're aware of that. But it also came with remarkably high expectations. How did you handle that?
yeah, well, I handled them in a lot of different ways. Sometimes they were positive, sometimes they were negative. But my dad, and the one thing that I can say about our childhood is that he did instill this sense of like survivorship and this this desire and want for you to be the best at what you were doing. So I think that really helped me try to manage those expectations. That I had a lot of confidence and whatnot to be who I was and do. Now my brother, on the other hand, he didn't have as much confidence, and it's so you're one of four,
Yes, I'm the oldest of
right?
four.
And so I'm sure there's lots of differences, and it's so weird how we grow up in the same household, but then there's four different,
Yes.
personalities, people, how you handle something, right? And so I feel like I'm blessed that I was kind of wired to be that confident, go-getter person. And my brother was, less confident and more shy and that way. So he dealt with those expectations differently. Versus me, I'm like, sure, I can go out and do that. I'm Kelley. I'll go out and do this. And so it's just different for everybody. I think what's important is that you have that mindset, in everything that you want to put forth. Is
Mind over matter,
that
big time.
got to be there. Yeah, that mindset's got to be there.
Really agree. So in your book, you write about balancing your professional life and your personal life. As a working mother of three, why do you see this as important? And what tips do you have to help achieve that healthy work-life balance?
why it was important is to me is like what I've explained, is that my dad put so much to the side to become what he was and to be the success story that he was on the racetrack and as a race car driver. And I didn't want to do that same thing in my case with my children. And, we can see, with the world and the way things are changing, that was the way it was when my dad was, being a parent, is the work, man went out and did the work and the wife stayed home and did this. Well, now, things are changing. We're working women out in the workforce. We're trying to balance family. We're trying to, you still want to have kids and family and do all those things. And so for me, that's meant to balance that family, count on people, use people. When somebody tells you that they, offer their services, if they want to babysit your dog or babysit your kids or whatever it is, take them up on it. We're also afraid to like use people in that manner, to take them up on what they're offering. From a business perspective, it's to say no. And that's hard.
I struggle with that.
When you're successful, when people believe in you, when they feel that you're intelligent and you're smart and that you could add value to something, you're asked quite often. You see the list of things that you were involved in. And so, you have to prioritize and you have to say no to certain things, because you can just wear yourself out to where you're not good at all the things that you're involved in. So that's been important to me, is just to really line up the things that are important to me and those priorities that are important to me, to kind of line those up with my, what I do. So I've got my job and I've got my, boards that I'm on, and then my family, and to try to navigate that and make time for, what that looks like. I mean, my daughter was upset this morning because she had to go to the dentist and get a filling, and I wasn't going to be there with her, And she's like, I just can't believe you're not going to be with me. And our nanny is with her. And I said, you'll be fine. Deb, she's been our nanny for 4 years, so you'll be fine. But, there's moments like that when they make you feel bad and they make you feel guilty, And right.
If it were a soccer game, all right. But
just trying to manipulate me, right? But, just carving out time and then explaining to them, who, what, and why. Why can't we be there? How are we going to accommodate to be there? That was one nice thing about COVID, and we were talking about COVID earlier and working from home and whatnot, is that our children got to see, in my case, what work looked like. And we got through COVID, saying, okay, from 9 to 11, mom's going to be working on this, dad's going to be doing this, we might be on these phone calls, and at 1 o'clock we're going to go outside and play ball or whatever. I'm just making something up, but kind of setting those priorities. But they got to see, oh, this is what work looks like for mom. She's always on the phone. She's always doing this. She's always stressed when she comes home from work. And, got a glimpse into what that looked like. But, prioritizing, lining up things, saying no sometimes is important to kind of balance that work and home life.
Yeah, my sisters are definitely going to be repeating that.
Yes, and try not to take things home with you, which is hard. See, my husband and I work together, and so that's very difficult, because we'll want to go to the dinner table and start talking about work because we may have not got to catch up on the day. And sometimes you just have to say, our kids will turn to us and say, would you please stop talking about work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rightfully so, I guess. You're right about one of the most essential lessons you've learned is to lead from the heart. What does that mean in your life and in your career?
For me, leading from the heart it's really something I'm extremely passionate about. I have, you asked me what was my favorite thing about working, it's the people. And I think that's where this leading from the heart for me really takes place, is that Mr. Hendrick told me when we first started working with him back in 2008, people are your most important asset, and you've got to invest in them, you've got to take time with them. And I also watched my dad growing up, I was probably teens and 20s. At the time he had Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, just really knowing people and knowing the ins and outs of people. And so for me, leading from the heart is really, I talk about in my book, knowing your audience, knowing your people, understanding your people. So who's working for me? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What charges their batteries? What discharges them, and just really kind of understanding what I want my business about, and that those people fit into, that culture of the business. And so, really just, I know, all of their names, I know their families. When I know something that's happening in their life, I follow up on it, if, they've had a family member that's been ill or whatnot. Or I just stop and, I'll see something on Facebook from the weekend and I'll, find that person and say, oh, how was the beach this past weekend? Or how was the pool? Just that engagement to let them know that you care and that, at the end of the day, they bring more to you than just their ability to do a good job at work, and I think that's really helped us cultivate long tenure employees. Is to feel like that they matter, to us more so in just their ability to do the job. And so that leading from the heart is just, something really important to me.
Yeah, no, and that goes a long way. Like as an employee of a big company, when my manager or managers a couple levels up, asks about me or follows up on something, it really does kind of add that more interconnectedness.
Yes.
As opposed to the opposite, which is,
we talk about a business, professional,
right.
but there's this balance.
Right.
There's a balance of that interpersonal relationship that you want to have with people, and you're managing people, and you want you want to have their buy-in, and you want them to feel good about what they're doing, and that they're not just glanced over because they're the smartest on whatever it is their job is. So you want to treat them as people.
Right. Right.
So.
You write about the important lesson that you learned from your dad is to do good on purpose. What do you do to reflect this?
Goodness, sometimes I'm overboard about doing good. I just want to help people all the time. I write in the book, helping people be happy people, right? And so for me, that's just giving back to the community. We're very community minded at work and just in our family. We grew up in Mooresville area. We've been there all of our life. And so, doing good to me can be whether you're supporting a charity, again, whether you're just investing your time into someone that needs it, that needs for you to be present to them at the moment, because they're going through some kind of hardship or whatever. But we just support a lot of different avenues in our area and in our community. And I think that's important. We've been blessed. We've been given so much, and in our, time, talents, and financially. And so, I think it's important to give back and to, one of the things that Dale and I have always talked about, the Earnhardt name obviously opens tons of doors, right? And there's so many people that don't get the door open. We were able to put the foot in the door, right? And then it was our decision if we wanted to kick it open further or not, right? Or let it close on us. So many people don't even get to the door. They don't even get to the open door. And so that doing good, just helping them, whatever it might be, to give them tools and resources to get to that door. And then, whether it's mentally want to kick it open or physically or whatever, just giving people that opportunity. And so doing good, through the community, through different charities, through different initiatives. It's just so simple. Doing good is a fan standing outside of Junior Motorsports and I see them standing out there and I go out and speak to them. That's doing good because I know that they're for a reason. They probably drove there from somewhere far. They probably want something autographed. They probably want to see Dale. They just want to talk to someone within the business, and everybody talks to the receptionist because she's the one sitting downstairs, but they want to get a little further. And so, or if I'm on my way out, pulling out of the parking lot and I see people standing around, I'll wave. And if they recognize who I am and they want me to stop or whatever, but so you can do good in so many forms of just, being present with people, acknowledging people, and so on.
Yeah, memories like that, they're going to repeat that story every single time someone talks about NASCAR. That's going to be something that they hold on to.
Exactly.
So that's really awesome that you are able to do stuff like that. So as we talk about lessons to win in sports, winning is everything. That's the nature of sports. Yes. But how do you win in life?
Oh gosh. I couldn't have answered this question a long time ago, right? But I think that for me, I've learned that everybody's success looks different. So we all have, what we want to accomplish in life. And so I think to me, winning in life is that you're happy, that what you're doing makes you happy. There's no secret sauce. There's no secret recipes. You don't have to be married with 2 kids. You can be single and never have kids. You can have the job of your dreams, or you can have a job that gets you by because you love the outdoors and you want to spend your days hiking, but you do something that, meets your needs and whatever, like meeting your needs at what makes you happy. To me, that's success. To me, that's winning. I don't describe winning as being at the top. I don't describe it as being the best. I describe it as that inner happiness, and that inner connectivity that we have with ourselves, and being happy with ourselves, so that, that whatever we're doing in life, that's success to me, yeah.
So what do you think you would be doing right now if you didn't happen to be vice president of Junior Motorsports?
I always said when I was growing up, I wanted to be a school teacher. So I don't know if I'd be a school teacher, but I'd be doing something, some passion for helping people. So I'd probably be in some sort of nonprofit role, or, some kind of situation, doing something of that nature. I went to school. I know we're going to talk about college in a little bit, but I went to school here to be, I just said I'm going to be a business major because I felt like that was broad at the time. I was really into crime and investigative things. And so I started out as criminal justice. Yeah. But I changed quickly because I was like, that was just really narrowing. I'm in this racing family and I may have this opportunity to run the business one day. And like, what am I going to do with criminal justice over here? Right. So I changed, and then I was a production and inventory concentration, which
operations,
is like numbers, numbers and how to get things done. So which is way different than saying that I want to, go out and work in a nonprofit and be available to people. So I had no idea back then what I was.
Again, with the wearing all the different hats, like it's definitely representative in the life choices that you made that got you to this point.
Yep.
So, but what do you consider your biggest accomplishment in business then?
Gosh, I don't know if I have a biggest accomplishment. I think if I think about the different decisions that we've made along the way in business, probably one that stands out to me that was really tough on so many fronts, but then fruitful, was the timing of life where we had to decide whether to continue to drive for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, which was our family business with my stepmother there, or make a move to go somewhere else, and which we did in 2007. We spent a lot of time talking to a lot of different teams, and then made the move to Hendrick Motorsports, which was really a big deal. We had this legion of fans, and all these people that either wanted us to continue to stay at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, or they wanted us to go drive for Richard Childress Racing, who my dad drove for, and wanted that to kind of. And so when we dropped the bomb that we were going to Hendrick Motorsports, everybody was like, "Oh my goodness!"
The loyalty.
But that process, that process was a really difficult process to navigate that with the family background, with the employees that were Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. So many of them were family members themselves. And then the fan base of my dad's and what that expectation looked like. So I would say navigating through that and getting to Hendrick Motorsports, and, just continuing to be involved in the sport, be, here from a legacy standpoint of what our dad stood for in the sport. All of those are big accomplishments to me.
Very impactful ones at that. Yeah. So as we kind of reminisce, thinking back to your time at UNC Charlotte, what experiences at UNC Charlotte best helped you prepare for your role at Junior Motorsports?
I would say, just the experience of, the things that I think back, I can see myself in class here. So I originally went to Wilmington to college, and I decided to move home and finish up my last 2 years here at Charlotte. And I was a commuting student, so I wasn't on campus. But the impact of, I remember the scariest and biggest thing in my world was writing that final paper. You have to write a final paper your last.
I had a whole capstone class.
Right. And I took zeros in everything that I needed to do speaking engagements when I was young.
Really?
Like book reports in school at 6th grade, I never did a book report. Like zero, not speaking in front of these people. And so that was a really big deal for me. So, college, I think, really, not thinking through like specific examples, but college for me, and I think it's different for everyone. Some people are going to really get a lot out of college, and some people are just going to go through the motions, right? But for me, it was, and I told my daughter this because she's not a college person. She tried to go to college for a year. She didn't like it. And I said, but this is why I want you to go to college. And for me, it was accountability. It was relationships. Obviously the things you're learning for your, whatever interest you have or whatever degree that you want to accomplish, is extremely important. But, the mentorship of professors, I was in a sorority at UNCW. That same sorority wasn't here at UNCC for me to be in, but, relationships, being involved at that level, you were different chairpersons of different things and whatnot. And so for me, that was, college prepares you for a work environment in a way, because you're going to be working with people. People are going to be telling you what to do. You're going to have to be working your way up the ladder. And that's kind of, sitting in class here, when you're accountable to your professor, you're accountable to a team of people. And, writing that paper in college, there were 4 or 5 of us in the group, being accountable for your part of, that grade and whatnot. So to me, that's the biggest thing about college is that's what I wanted to try to express to my daughter. And I have 2 more chances for them, if they want to go to school. And I want to encourage them to go to school, is just for that accountability, that routine. There's so much that can be taught here that will set you up in advance of learning it in the real world, so. And then the opportunities that you get from interning and things like that. I mean, you could just go on and on about how valuable it can be. But I just think that it gives you that opportunity in a structured environment to, learn, be independent, and figure out the world before you go into your first, job.
Have you been able to connect with UNC Charlotte Niner alumni after you graduated?
I actually have one that works for me. We were in class together, Wendy, and she's worked for me for a long time. And I have a really good friend, Amy, who we're still great friends today, and our kids are the same ages, from that perspective. But I haven't really, until Tanner got in touch with me here on the alumni team, to really kind of engage and kind of see what opportunities there are to engage as an alumni. I guess maybe I'm finally considered.
Yeah.
I'm finally considered that type of person, right?
Well, we have got our hands around you now. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to your time as a student at UNC Charlotte, you were working at a marketing group and street stock racing. So what are 3 things that you know now that you wish you would have known then?
Yeah, this is such a funny question, right? Because I think we tend to think in our today's terms on our past. Like, I'm not thinking, I forget how I was really thinking in my past, right? Because I'm so much more experienced and versed now. I want to say, I want to think that I was doing better than maybe, or doing differently, but whatever. But I think, some things that I wish I would have known. One was probably to connect more with people, use people, lean on people, learn from people, have that mentor. I really didn't kind of have a steady, constant mentor that I can remember. So, really kind of seeking out that person and somebody that can work with you through college, to be a voice for you. I packed up myself from high school and went straight to Wilmington for summer school. Packed up my own car. I mean, my parents today, I think our parents are a lot more engaged. My parents, they're like, "What school did you pick?" We're like, "Oh, I'm going to the beach, Dad." Okay. Just a different time. Yeah. And so I think now, to look back and try to find that mentor person. What are some other things that I wish I would have known then? I wish I would have known that so much wasn't going to matter. And I say that like my daughters are 20 and 15, and the things that they get upset about, I'm just like, I wish I could have known to ask myself back then, will this matter in 5 years?
Right. Yeah.
Will this matter in a year? And I try to set them up for that. I'm like, they'll call me, if it's a friend issue or whatever. And I'm like, okay, is this going to matter? How is it going to matter? Is this someone that you really care about and you want to continue to be friends with? Or is this just someone you're passing in the school hall that, gave you a bad look or something, like, let's talk about that. So I think that's something that I wish that I would have been versed enough to know, like, to decipher what matters and is it going to matter later and why. And I wish I would have studied more. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but I have a very photographic memory. And so I didn't study very much and I did well. And so I can imagine if I would have studied, I could have been like the valedictorian or something, so I wish I would have studied more because I probably have forgotten so much of
the techniques.
I got through it, I guess is the way I said. I just got through the next step, got through the next thing because of that photographic memory. I could read something and take a test on it the next day and be like, see it on the paper of where I was reading it. But I didn't retain it.
Right. It didn't mean anything.
And so I wish I would have studied more.
Okay.
Not many people are looking to hear that, right?
Well, we have many of our women in business students and alumni who are tuning in today. The Women in Business program focuses on empowering Belk College undergraduate students. What does empowering mean to you?
Yeah. So, when we think about empowerment, I think, giving somebody the right to, giving somebody the authority to do something, giving them the tools, the resources to do what's on their mind. But we said it earlier, it's the mindset, right? So empowering to me is first you have to have the mindset and then utilize that right, that authority, those tools, those resources to go down the path that you're of what you believe in. So when we talk about women's empowerment, we talk about empowering our kids to make better decisions or to learn, on their own without, doing things for them or whatever. So, but there has to be that mindset there to empower people and let them figure it out, let them experience it on their own. Give them feedback, talk about it, don't criticize necessarily and whatnot. I think about my kids, and if I'm going to empower my kids to, make better decisions, it's not going to happen if I'm telling them what to do or telling them how to do it. It's going to happen when we are looking at a decision and talking about the pros and cons. What are the positives of that decision? What was the negative? How could you do this different? How could you do this better? What would you think about next time, you're put in this position, so on and so forth. So, that probably sums it up.
Good. Well, thank you, Kelley. We have time for a few questions from the audience now. So we've got Nicole A. She asks, NASCAR is a family-oriented sport. Do family relations and friendships drive your networking?
It does. And networking is so important too in life. And one of the things that I tell people, they're always asking about getting involved in our sport or getting involved in something. And I said, network. And, take a job, even if it's no pay or low pay. I mean, you've got to find these ways to connect with people and to build your experience or so that people, know what you're about and know what you're capable of. And so, in our, it's very family oriented. We have, I have a lot of family members that work with us, but I just say use who you know. When I started working for Dale, I was 22. Was I 22? Yeah, 22. No, wait a minute. Yeah. No, 32. I worked, 7 years at Sports Image prior to that and another company. So 32. And, so for me, I called up Jeff Gordon's folks, one of the best in the business. I mean, our dad had passed, obviously, and so I needed to find another path and said, who do you use for this? How do you handle this? And so count on, use people, network with people. I think that's just so important to do that.
Yeah. So we've got several questions on this particular topic.
Okay.
What challenges have you faced as a female in racing? And what is your advice for women trying to break into the industry after college to get hired in the race team?
Yeah. So that's a tough one for me because I feel like because I'm an Earnhardt, I already had a certain level of credibility with people in our sport. And so I don't feel like I personally have maybe experienced some of the obstacles that a lot of women in our sport have. Now, I did as a driver. I drove race cars, and I was not liked by the men. And even when I was young, being in the race shop, I was, get out of the race shop. This isn't a place for girls. You don't want to get dirty, whatever it was.
Brother said you would have been the better racer out of all of them.
Right. So, but from a business perspective, I don't feel like I've really had those challenges and obstacles that I hear from other people. But I think that, honestly, I feel like it's the same experience in NASCAR, because it's very male dominated as it would be in any other male dominated area, to get in. And so, if I can I haven't had that experience myself, but if I think through it, the biggest things for me, and I can't remember if we talk about this in the book or not, but people always say, how do you show that confidence, like at a business table or negotiating, whatever? First off, I say dress the part. Business. If you want to be respected and treated, so on and so forth, be the part, dress the part, because it's very easy for people to look at women in a different way depending on what's going on, right? So be who you want to be, if you're trying to gain that respect and garner that business acumen. And doesn't it drive you crazy when people shake your hand and they just give you that little dainty?
The limp, the fish, the wet fish.
Yes,
I'd hate it.
So like I go in with my hand and I'm ready, just to really give that good handshake, right? And then just be confident. I mean, obviously, if you know your stuff and you're good at what you do, you're going to turn some heads. In my sport, there's more male heads. If you're lined up, if there's 10 of you and you're the girl and there's 9 men, I mean, I don't get wrapped up in that, because there's 10 good candidates, so sometimes getting wrapped up in the female aspect of it and then not the female aspect of it, I get kind of on the fence about, I just say, like, be good at what you're doing. I know it happens out there. I know it happens. But work hard and be good at what you're doing. And I think the opportunities will present themselves.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Katasha, 2014 UNC Charlotte graduate, asks, would you say that those lessons and experiences that you have and wanted to speak about in your original book idea has helped you with becoming the businesswoman that you are today?
Yeah, I think absolutely it did. We kind of spoke to that a little earlier, but setting up my past and letting me talk through that and letting me get that out, really sets up the lessons and how they marry back to that. And so obviously we're all a product of our environment, right? We're all a product of how we were raised and what that environment looks like. And so yeah, I absolutely that is exactly what the book shows is those lessons and that original path, and that my childhood, I guess, in terms of how I live my life today.
Yeah. Another question from Nicole. Your story is empowering. You have overcome obstacles to find yourself and emphasize how it may take time to get to that end game. Do you think you officially found yourself at NASCAR, or do you see something else in the future?
I don't know. I think that I always say there's seasons of life, right? So I think, like, I'm in this season of life now where NASCAR makes sense, and what I'm doing makes sense. And if I can continue to provide an opportunity for the families that work for us to do what they love and be in NASCAR and carry on that legacy. But, I don't know, maybe something plops in my lap that's a different opportunity to be engaged in, a different direction, a nonprofit or something like that. So I think you always have to be, evaluating and checking again, like checking that, okay, what do I want to accomplish? What are my priorities? How is that fitting into where I'm going, what I'm doing? Do I need to shift this? Do I need to shift that? But yeah, today I'm definitely, happy with what I'm doing. And still have a lot of life to live. So who knows what will be next.
Yeah. Awesome. Sean asks, what advice would you give parents with children who like to race?
This is
As you talk about your
the question
child
too.
who
Yeah.
likes to
So my
race.
son just started racing last summer, and the advice I give to my husband is to not be so hard on him. No, I mean you know, racing is so different than stick and ball sports. You know, you can play football at school, you can play basketball, baseball, golf, swim. You can do all these different things at school, and you can't race cars at school. You know, to be an athlete. So. It is difficult finding an opportunity to get involved in racing, but there's a lot of, you know, series. There's quarter midgets, there's goat carts. My son runs outlaw carts. You know, go to a local track, you know, just go out and walk around and visit and see what's going on and talk to other families who might be there racing and to kind of put things together, you know, kind of get your eye on, like in Salisbury, there's the quarter midgets. You know, we race in Salisbury at a dirt track, you know, so and then just figuring out you know, what it might take to get there. There's opportunities to kind of buy your own things and do your own racing, or there's opportunities to rent and lease cars. A lot of racetracks have for kids, they have arrive and drive days where you can just bring your kid with their safety gear and let them test it out. So there's things like that. And but then once you get involved, it's no different than any other sport. I mean, it's performance. You know, you want to be the best. It's time commitment, the commitment to do it, and really, you know, make sure it's something that your kid wants to do. Right? I've lived vicariously. I've lived vicariously through my kids though before, you know, because there was something that some need I was trying to meet, you know, from my past. And I'll give you an example. Like, I didn't really ever have great birthday parties, and I always would be so upset because kids around me would have birthday parties, and because our dad was gone, we just never planned. We never had friends over. We didn't. Yeah, it was just different. And so my first job, got some doozies of a birthday party at 1 and 2. And then I look back on them and I'm like, why did we do that? We had Elmo come to the first party. We had Scooby-Doo come to the second party. I know, isn't that funny? And so I think we live vicariously through them at times. So make sure that it's something that they're interested in doing just as much as you are. Yeah.
As a previous transfer student, what advice would you offer to a woman who has chosen the non-traditional path of education and maybe looking to start a career at an age not deemed traditional?
What advice would you give to a woman who has chosen the non-traditional path of education? So I'm assuming maybe later in life, you know, in an age later in life that wouldn't be traditional. So maybe going to college later in life or starting a career later.
So transfer, I think,
transferring from
in the university type world, transfer is like a non-traditional student. So I think coming from like a community college and then
got you coming in
or something like that.
Yeah. See, that's probably experience based. You know, so I don't know if I have the knowledge to speak on that, you know, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have any advice on that from your experience? I've been in college a long time ago.
What advice would you offer to a woman who's chosen? I mean, continue to check in on what you want to accomplish. Like, you obviously are working towards a degree. Make sure that and I tell this to my sisters all the time, make sure the classes that you're taking are towards your degree. And even if you're at a community college, the ability to look at the classes you're taking at a community college, you can see exactly how they equate to UNC Charlotte if you know you're coming here.
Yeah.
So make sure everything you take transfers.
Lines up. Yeah.
Don't waste time.
Yeah, right. No time to waste in this day and time.
So passion does not necessarily mean commitment. How were you so sure you wanted to be committed to this path?
I think I'm assuming they're maybe talking about racing, you know, the racing path and motorsports. I think that once we were born in it, it kind of, you know, to have the family name that we have as an Earnhardt in the sport. I mean, when, you know, our name and the Petty name is just synonymous with NASCAR, particularly, you know, when I'm graduating school in 95 was the heyday of my dad's career.
Right.
And so I think that commitment to, you know, if I think back to myself, I was still in that role of wanting to prove myself to my father, to get that approval from my father. And so that probably is where that passion and or commitment lied in, choosing motorsports as the avenue. And then after my dad's death, that was probably just even more stamped that we were the ones here to carry on the motorsports legacy, to this legion of people who have followed NASCAR, and it's what we've known. So, yeah, I guess that's
Okay.
for me, how it came to be.
Okay, so we've got another one here. You received the Opportunity Award from Lynn St. James's Women in the Winner's Circle Foundation for bringing Danica Patrick to NASCAR. Can you speak to the importance of advocating for women in that male-oriented, male-dominated industry like racing?
Yeah, so, I do think anytime I have a chance to get behind women in the sport, whether it's, from a business perspective, public relations, marketing, there's lots of women that work in those roles, or a driver like Danica. And they give me a lot of credit for bringing her to NASCAR. Danica definitely knew that this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to drive in NASCAR. We were definitely worked hard to be that opportunity of and the team that she chose. But I think it's important. I kind of live vicariously through these women that want to get into the sport, because I drove at a time where it wasn't cool to be a girl, and it wasn't as welcoming. And so in now, Haley Deegan, who is out there racing, and other girls that are out there, you want to show them that it can be done. And I have a niece, Dale's daughter, who's 3, and she just came out to watch my son Wyatt race, and we picked out the other girls in his division that were racing. And she said, I want to go meet them, and I think we're seeing on TV now where a little girl looks up and goes, oh, there's a girl race car driver. I can do that, and so I think it's very important to advocate for that, to showcase that, because, the stereotype is that it doesn't really exist.
Right.
So.
Well, Kelley, thank you again for sharing the wisdom and principles that shaped you as an executive and a successful businesswoman. I know our alumni, students, and friends tuning in have learned a lot, whether they are just starting out in business or a seasoned professional. To learn more, pick up Kelley's book, Drive: 9 Lessons to Win in Business and in Life. On behalf of the Belk College of Business Alumni Council, thank you for joining us today. Please look for a post-event survey via the QR code on the final slide, and join us for more Belk College Alumni Network programs and events this fall. Thank you again for joining us, Kelley.
Yep, I enjoyed it, and I just thank the group here that made this available for me to come and talk to everyone. So very much enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.